in summer when our demand is greater.
Climate change is unearthing long frozen mysteries on Mount Everest.
This is something we'll see more and more of as the glaciers melt.
2 Americans survive a shark attack in the Bahamas, and the big rodent that's causing even bigger problems in California.
They can burrow deep into waterways, and they can reproduce.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Emma Withrow. The first of 3 winter storms sweeping across the country over the next week is now bringing snow, ice, and rain to portions of the South. You can see snow is falling right now in Roanoke, Virginia, and Louisville, Kentucky. Just to the south, it's all rain in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then North Georgia, where flood watches are posted this morning. Over the next few hours, that storm will move east, bringing 6 inches and more of snow to areas like Washington and Baltimore. And then just behind it is storm number 2. Meteorologist Christina Ernie is tracking them for us this morning.
Good morning. A parade of storms are trucking along the country from snow to ice and heavy rains. We have winter storm alerts stretching from Colorado through Washington, D.C. with heavy rain and actually a flood watch for Louisiana, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So right now we're seeing a lot of that mixing across the area. Current satellite and radar imagery showing that heavy rain and some snow rolling through Kentucky and Virginia. And heavy rain today from Texas through Tennessee might produce 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, then mixing to ice, becoming a concern into North Carolina and Virginia. Of course, finishing out with some heavy snow out towards the D.C. metro area, looking at about 6 inches or more of some snowfall that way, with some impacts all the way up through New York City. Storm number 2, though, follows in that last one's footsteps, but this one still produces some heavy rain in the deep south, and then that snow rolling from Colorado into Chicago and then into northern New England. So in total, over these next 3 days, some areas in the south may pick up 2 to 5 inches of rainfall, on the order of 3 to 5 from Louisiana out up towards Atlanta. And we're also keeping a close eye on a big snowmaker too in the Rockies this weekend. More rain and snow concerns Saturday and Sunday, and this includes a flood risk in the Northeast. A lot to track here over the next few days. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Christina Ernie.
It's Virginia, and meteorologist Kit Alexander is checking out the road conditions over there.
Drivers need to 100% be on alert for some slick conditions in Southwest Virginia today. It is a messy situation as opposed to Northeast Tennessee. And the area of snow that's coming down right now is pretty heavy at times. So drivers also need to be on alert for some limited visibility with these snow squalls that's coming through.
West Virginia is expecting several inches of snow. The area around Charleston is still recovering from flooding last week, so high water could be an issue. Shelby Burno has more.
We've had a lot of issues in the last few days, and I'm worried we're going to have some more. My concern is a hydraulic event is how much rain we're going to get. We're going to get some snow, and hey, it's wintertime, we'll get snow. But I'm concerned about the rain we've had, the moisture in this snow and the rain behind it.
With remaining water from last week's flooding, Sigmund says the roadways could see high water again, causing more accidents.
What happens is, you're putting yourself at risk when you're driving that high water. You're going out there and getting people out of those cars and walking them out. They're taking a danger themselves.
He says overflowing culverts and low bridges have brought issues with flooding, leaving crews to clear them out.
We'd been really debris clearing from the heavy rain last weekend and even through Saturday. Now we're in full snow prep, trying to get all of our spreaders and our salt plows back on.
Webster says an added challenge for them is utilizing the same trucks for debris cleanup and road salting.
We've had to do both before, but it's a very added challenge that we don't look forward to. So we'll focus on the snow removal, and then as the snow melts and turns into rain and turns into water precipitation, we'll have to just deal with that as it comes.
Water from last week's atmospheric rivers is still cause for concern in Northern California. Shasta Lake rose more than 22 feet since the end of January, and then that led officials to release water from 2 dams. The water flowed into the Sacramento River, causing flooding downstream. Some residents are worried that their homes could soon flood. And with more rain in the forecast later this week, there could be additional releases from that lake. An interstate highway that's been closed since Hurricane Helene is reopening soon. Landslides washed away sections of I-40 in western North Carolina. The highway is typically used by 20 vehicles a day, so drivers have been forced to take long detours. The state and federal government have a plan to partially reopen the road by next month. A permanent reconstruction plan is likely to be more than a year away. Turning now to northern Nevada, where scientists are concerned about this year's below-average snowpack. But there is some good news. Ben Margiot tagged along for the monthly trip to measure all the snow.
The monthly voyage to the Snowtell site at Mount Rose Ski Resort. Scientists finding the snowpack is 83 inches deep with 23 inches of water content.
So if we were to melt it down, there'd be a puddle almost 2 feet deep laying on the ground in this location.
Not terrible, but not great. It's 85% of the median for this date compared to the last 30 years. But at this high elevation, it's been all snow. If you go just a little bit lower, it's a different story.
But because we got a lot of it as rain, and that rain passed through and went down the river or into the lake, our snowpack really isn't as robust as it would be if it had all been snow.
Hydrologist Jeff Anderson with the Natural Resources Conservation Service says rain is, of course, good, but snow is better.
If we can keep it up high on the mountains instead of flowing down the river, that allows it to melt in the spring and summer when our demand is greater.
Not to mention more snow on the ground later means vegetation doesn't dry out as quickly, and hopefully the fire season is delayed. Still, our reservoirs are in good shape thanks to a few solid water years in a row.
We started the year with pretty good carryover storage, specifically Lake Tahoe. We have a little buffer there, to get us through a drier year if it should end up that way.
And there's still a lot of time left.
The great thing about the Sierras is that we can turn around really quickly.
At Mount Rose, Ben Margiot reporting.
When heavy rain falls, it could be nice to stay home, but unfortunately road travel might be a necessity here. Meteorologist Katie Morgan has some tips to help us keep control of our cars.
When heavy rain is in the forecast, hydroplaning can become a big concern, especially on those roads that we tend to drive a little faster on, like the interstates. Hydroplaning, of course, is when you're driving and may run over wet pavement. Your tires can lose contact with the ground, and it can become very dangerous. That's why it is always important to make sure that you're driving at those slower speeds. That is where you have least risk for hydroplaning. You have the least amount of water return here when you're driving those slower speeds, tires kicking up rain and bringing it back under the tire, but road contact usually remains. Of course, that begins to pick up when we start to pick up in speed with less road contact under that moderate speed, and the faster speeds are going to be the highest risk, where we have the most water being returned and we lose contact under that wheel, and that can result in hydroplaning.
Just shark attack. According to Royal Bahamas Police, the women were swimming near Bimini Bay Friday evening when they were both attacked. One of the women has injuries that are described as serious. Shark attacks in the Bahamas are fairly rare, with just 34 since record started happening. But how this third reported attack was involving these Americans is really the first ones that we've seen since 2023. A Southern California man who had to evacuate due to the devastating Los Angeles area wildfires eventually returned home and made a startling discovery: a black bear living under his Altadena home after the Eaton fire raced through the city. The 525-pound bear survived the fire while living under the house. The owner heard noises under the house, discovered the bear, and contacted the state's Department of Fish and Wildlife. Workers lured the bear out of the crawl space and then took him to the Los Angeles National Forest. The bear was known in the neighborhood before the fire. The residents nicknamed actually the bear Barry. They described him as a mellow bear who minded his own business. And for all the latest weather news and updates, all that video that we have, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all your major platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk and we'll be there. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, invasive swamp rat populations are exploding in California. We'll look at how officials are dealing with this issue. And we'll help you better understand thunder snow.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We're starting the single numbers in teens during the morning. Today, look for a fair amount of sun today. That should warm us back into the 20s and low 30s. Now, most of the Northeast will miss out on this storm system for late tonight into Wednesday morning. That's 1 a.m. Wednesday, but parts of New York and New Jersey will probably get grazed with a period of snow. We'll get a break on Wednesday, then another round of snow and or rain moves back into the picture for Wednesday night and into Thursday morning.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. A winter storm is arriving today. As we move into the afternoon, we'll likely see snow overspreading the entire area, and we will see this lingering through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Several inches of snow at the highest totals to the south of Baltimore near D.C. are expected, and we'll continue to see that again through Wednesday morning. Another system will arrive to bring rain on Wednesday night. Temperatures will cool down as we move through the afternoon and evening hours as the snow's arrival, but we're above freezing on Wednesday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Afternoon highs for your Tuesday will be in the 40s north of the front, also the upper 30s in North Carolina and north of our kind of I-20 corridor. And then we have the upper 40s in Atlanta as well. We have the 60s and 70s and even 80s further to the south of that front. Now we are likely to see some light snow showers in parts of North Carolina and the mountains. We are going to also see some showers and storms associated with this front move throughout the day Tuesday.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
10 holes at this golf course are out of commission due to Sacramento River flooding. A peek at sunrise over Birmingham with a blanket of clouds below. In Montana, a rosy, cloudy sunset overlooking Flathead Lake. In Alaska, sunset over icy Anchorage waters and an after-dark look at the Myrtle Beach skywheel through fog.
Listen to Off the Radar. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
As global temperatures rise each year, glaciers around the world are being impacted, including the glaciers at Mount Everest. Emily Gracie spoke to a glaciologist about this changing environment and how it's unearthing old mysteries.
This is a region that is very much dependent on natural resources for sustainable development. So as you go down from the glaciers or as you walk up to the glaciers, you pass through many villages who are all using the water in some way, shape or form that comes from these glaciers, that comes also just more generally from the precipitation, as well as it having, huge cultural and spiritual value. The mountains are extremely important to the people of this region, often from a religious point of view. And so when they're seeing year in, year out, these environments changing, then it has big practical implications, but it also has big spiritual implications as well.
Seen before because so many people have died in this attempt.
I can imagine that there are bodies within the glacial ice, and it will take tens, probably hundreds of years for them to be transported through that system. The way the glacier moves is that if those bodies are incorporated within the glacier at high elevation, then they will be taken down almost on a semi-vertical trajectory into the glacier to start with, and then below the equilibrium line, that's when it will start to re-emerge towards the surface. And this is something we'll see more and more of as the glaciers melt down and a lot of that englacial material is revealed.
I mean, it's so sad, but at the same time, it's so fascinating because they're being discovered.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of secrets that are wrapped up within these glaciers. They've been around a long time. They've seen a lot of tragedy. They've seen a lot of attempts. So periodically, you do get these big news stories, don't you, where something interesting has appeared at the foot of the glacier, and you can link it back to exactly who it belonged to and what they were doing at the time.
To uncover the secrets emerging from Everest's melting glaciers, check out this week's episode of our podcast. You'll learn about the mysterious disappearance of 2 hikers in 1924 and how recently discovered artifacts are revealing new insights into their attempt at Everest. Find Off the Radar on any podcast platform, including our YouTube channel. Thunder snow is a rare phenomenon and exciting to experience in person. Meteorologist Joy Bettenhausen recently took to Instagram to explain what thunder snow is and how it forms. Take a look.
When thunder snow happens, it's always an exciting time for folks to experience it. So let's explain what actually happens when we get thunder snow. Okay, so you need these 3 ingredients to make it happen. Grapple is when you get super cooled water droplets to freeze on essentially snow or ice crystals. Those will collide with each other, and with that we get charges within a cloud. So that's going to be an important key fact here. Now we also have to look at essentially cloudy high, and it all has to do with kind of a warmer layer. You know, it's generally warmer in the summer. With winter, clouds are essentially closer to the ground. Now in this scenario, essentially winter clouds don't have a whole lot of electrical charges within them. So if you can get kind of a push of warmer air, that can increase the charges, and thus more electrical charge will give us some lightning, and we occasionally can see lightning occur with some of the heavier snow bands. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's a pretty cool phenomenon if you can see it.
Nutria are one of the world's largest rodents, also known as swamp rats. Their population is booming in California, and that's because that's actually become a big problem there because they cause various kinds of damage. Rich Rodriguez looked at how officials in the state are working to root out the problem.
Communities in California and across the country are in a war right now against these giant swamp rats.
Congress joined Nutria Eradication Control Act. Nutria do 2 things well. They can burrow deep into waterways and they can reproduce. It's now becoming a bigger problem in Fresno County throughout the San Joaquin River corridor. They've also been spotted near Milliton Lake.
We do trap the nutria. We don't just place those traps out there blindly. Our field biologists will have, some signs, some evidence that there are nutria there.
The field staff is now ballooned to 50 people, and the team tracks the past 7 days a week. Last year, more than 1,300 nutria were captured. Just one female can produce 3 litters in 13 months, each litter as big as 13. In 2023, nutria also made it to the Delta.
That alerted us to point our efforts there, and we have, specifically targeted the area with game cameras and, the same sort of surveillance methods to, get a handle on them there.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife spends roughly $5 million a year working to eradicate nutria.
Unlike nutria, bald eagles are a welcome sight. Once on the verge of extinction, the birds made a comeback and are now no longer considered endangered. That means great opportunities for photos, obviously. So meteorologist Teresa Carter shares some viewer images and also some fun facts about these majestic birds.
The bald eagle has been the national emblem of the United States since 1782, which stands for bravery, strength, and independence. Fun facts about these majestic birds. Bald eagles are not actually bald. Their heads are covered in white feathers. The name comes from an older meaning of the word white-headed. Their wingspan is around 6 to 7.5 feet and are close to 3 feet tall. Bald eagles can see with clarity up to 2 miles away, making them exceptional hunters from great distances. Bald eagles can fly about 40 miles per hour and soar to an altitude of 10,000 feet. They can reach speeds between 75 to 99 miles per hour when diving to catch the prey. Bald eagles can live for about 20 to 30 years in the wild and even longer in captivity. Recovered sufficiently, bald eagles are still protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. Both laws prohibit killing, selling, or otherwise harming eagles, their nests, or eggs.
So the photos that Teresa used in that video were all sent in from viewers. So we'd love to share some of your guys' photos on air. So to send them to us, just head over to this station's website and then look for the Chime In tab under the drop-down menu. Upload your photos and videos, and you might see them right here on the National Weather Desk. Time now for a short break, but first we're going to head to Washington State and take in some views of the sunrise over Mount Rainier.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael, watching some snow and wintry mix kicking its way across the southern Ohio Valley for the day today. We're starting to get a little bit of snow to develop out here in Nebraska. Now, that's going to ramp up big time for tomorrow. Here's a look at tomorrow. We are looking at a lot of snow and wintry mix across the Midwest. Pretty quiet up there in the Dakotas, but that all kicks its way to the east by Thursday with sun coming back out.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off with 30s and rain up to the north. Rain and very warm, mild temperatures all the way down into the south. A cold front will push through the region today. That'll bring some strong storms all the way across from Mississippi, Alabama, into Louisiana and into Texas, but not so much for central Texas. Things will be fairly quiet. Temperatures will be warming depending on where the front is. Colder behind it and, of course, warmer out ahead. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we're talking about being in the deep freeze again from the Dakotas all the way out into the Continental Divide. Missoula just at 14 degrees today, making the eventual spring training later this month in Phoenix sound all the better. 70 in the Valley of the Sun today, mid-50s out of the city by the bay. A big storm eventually pushing toward Cape Mendocino in southern Oregon as the week wears on. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
When it comes to weather legend in February, Groundhog Day is probably the top of the list, but there's other February weather folklore to know about. So meteorologist Amanda Vire is posting about it on TikTok. Take a look.
Thunder in February. Now, this one has two different meanings, or can have two different meanings. It could mean that if we have thunder in February, we're going to see a frost in April, or it could mean the same February is the same day you are going to see a frost in April. Next one is foggy February. This is if you see foggy days in February, that means that you are going to see some frosty mornings in May. The last one is one fine week in February, and that's exactly what you think it is. We'll always have one nice or pleasant week in the month of February. Now, we know old wives' tales are more fiction than truth, but have you heard of any of these? And do you know any more?
If you're looking for some more weather content like this, you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk, and we'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Emma Withrow. Make it a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.